probably know that people are looking at that. I think at least some of these signs need to be, you know,
Sounds good to me.
and,
Well, I'm gonna say, we still want order.
Oh,
We want to be able to do that.
Exactly.
And, you know, we do want to hear the voice of the people. And, since we don't have a formal, a forum and we don't have a council, we will discuss a couple of things. But I actually want to start out with something that I want to discuss. This last week, we had a crisis. Probably in my 7.5 years, I've had a few concerns and a few scares about different things. But with our water plant, we had a couple of pumps go down. Those went down Friday night. And in the last several days, we've had engineers, contractors, pump supply companies, lots of folks at our water plant. Tim Hawkins, who is our plant supervisor, has been there almost around the clock. Bless his heart, he really needs some sleep probably. Brad Hawkins, Mark Patterson, and Denny Cook. We have a great staff, and without a great staff, we would never have been able to do the things we've done. It was a critically low water. Our tank got to where we were within 3 hours of running out of water. That's how critical it was. So when we were sending out those conserved waters, I know those little beeps you get on your phone and all those little messages you were getting were probably very annoying, but they were really important to us. We shut down car washes, any plant that used any significant amount of water. All those folks that stopped watering their lawns and doing those things, you don't know how much we appreciated that, because we would have been out of water earlier. And we were in kind of the 11th hour, as I thought, at 4:15 when we got our water back on Saturday. We've had significant problems each night. The pumps keep going out. We did have a company that was able to get us a diesel pump in here to keep us going. And we still have it, so until we figure out exactly what the root of the problem is, and it doesn't seem to be just one problem, it looks like it may be multiple problems, but we appreciate all the hard work that everybody did to help, you know, make those things easier for our plant operators. The other thing is the news media was great. I think when I talked to a couple of them, I didn't say very many words. I said, you're going to have to contact Barbie, but Barbie did a good job of keeping, I think, Fan and Sentinel, the News Observer, Fetcher News, all of those folks kept putting all the information out there, so we appreciate you watching and listening to them and staying tuned. We do have a Facebook page where we were updating people, but sorry for the annoying calls again, but if this happens again, we're still going to make sure you know that you would be very upset if I said, hey, we're out of water, we need to turn on the faucet. Didn't want to bother you with that phone call, but thanks to everybody who helped. So that's one thing I wanted to get out there.
And another thing that was on the agenda tonight that I'd like to speak about briefly is the 3-hour parking. We have had, I actually have spoken to representatives from the railroad, and so that Donna has as well. And also, so I'd like to give you a little update on that. We have a petition that's gone around. I was presented this petition. We have 1,008 signatures on it. And it's asking the city council to hold off on implementing this until we have a strategic plan in place. So,
makes sense.
That's probably why we're not having a meeting tonight. So but your voice has been heard on this. There is a possible solution that could take place, and let me go ahead and explain this though. Like I said, I've spoken with Patriot Rail. Mayor Whitener has. I know Jen Hackett has spoken to them as well. They're pretty upset because they felt like that we had given our word through the council members who voted, so they've given time to implement a strategy. When I spoke to the council for the railroad last week, he said that they'd gotten a call Monday, and basically they were given an ultimatum: either help with the cost of this pack property, or I'm moving forward with putting this on the agenda. And that was from Councilwoman Art. Her story's different, but that's how they perceived it, regardless of how she presented it. They perceived it that way. And so they stopped negotiating at that point with Ada Street LLC. Ada Street LLC had offered their property that's right up of Ada Street free of charge till the end of the year, actually until March, for them to use. They would just simply have to put gravel down, and then of course have liability insurance, etc. I did receive a statement from them today, And it says, Ada Street Partners, we're working closely with Patriot Rail to provide parking at no charge on the Ada Street property, which would have solved the majority of the rail's patron parking. This action was abruptly halted when Councilperson R reneged on her word of a 90-day moratorium on changes in parking regulations. They have now informed us they're exploring all options, which they did explain. They talked to Mayor Whitener about that. And we can't really go into all that, but let's just say they kind of said they can blow the whistle as they go through the week. And at this point, I wouldn't blame them, since our council members can't even show up for a meeting to discuss this. Well, I do have a letter also written by Patriot Rail. The council sent it to me today. This is from Mr. Fenton, and he asked that I read this, and if you guys would like to hear it. I mean, basically, in a nutshell, he's saying we're very disappointed that this happened with the parking, first reading of the ordinance, and asked that this, said they put a lot of money into this project. They want to be neighbors. He said, we're proud to be a good neighbor and business partner to the city of Blue Ridge. And again, respectfully request time to adjust our business schedule so that we can be compliant with the new ordinance amendment without causing immediate hardship or inconvenience to our customers. And that would be a huge inconvenience if they've not planned for this and all of a sudden, you have no parking. I actually had my daughter, she does aerial photography, and she went through last Friday, and this shows when the train had just came, they were just back in Blue Ridge. There is no parking. There's no parking in municipal parking. There's no parking all the way up to Church Street where this will start, all the way down. And you can get copies of these. I actually have copies up here if you want to look at them and see. We can't just abruptly say you have to park here. This is where they're parking now. They're parking in municipal parking. They're parking everywhere. So we've got to have a plan in place. The plan with Ada Street LLC, they have been more than generous because really, if you look at their situation with the city, that was a very generous offer. And it was just for railway parking, but that was extremely generous of them.
My conversation with Mr. Fenton is one of the things that I was concerned about was they had discussed actually moving the train to Kendall at one point and then trying to go toward LJ and just, like she said, blow the whistle as they came through. I know that none of us want to see that happen. The other thing that he did discuss was if they ran from Blue Ridge to McCaysville to meet the 3-hour parking limit, they would have to run to McCaysville, turn around and come back, and those merchants in that town are looking for shoppers and folks to eat in their restaurants and dine and things. And it not even dawned on me that they could make that trip that quickly. So, it doesn't only hurt us, it could hurt our neighbor also, which is McCaysville, and we all want to be able to work together. We want them to do well. If they do well, Blue Ridge does well. So, that they are very concerned about what direction we're headed in parking. I'm concerned about what direction we're headed in parking. We don't have a long-term plan, and I would like to see a long-term plan put into place. The other thing, I guess, that I would like to mention, he also told me, and I think Rachel Gray or Mike, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names. May can even tell me there was a publication that just came out, and it's the number 6 excursion train in the U.S. Is that correct? So that's something to be proud of. We're number 6. So no one wins if we lose the train in any respect. We need 4-hour parking for them, but I don't think the merchants in town even want them to be able to just park for 4 hours. I think they want them to come dine in their restaurants and shop in their stores. So, like I said, long-term parking, we've got to have a solution. I'll push that day one. We've discussed parking here at City Hall, being able to go from our drive-through window out to the Depot Street. I think Rick LaRosa actually did a design. Was it Rick LaRosa?
He did, yes.
And that was 110 parking places. That got shot down several years ago, but I think that needs to go back on the table also, because everything we have is short-term. I talked with Mr. Hagel, who has gotten past his due diligence period on the larger piece of the Temple property, and also purchased another piece of property in town. They do plan to build a hotel. They first had told me that they would close sometime in October, so I thought even if we could have parking there, we would only have it till October, and he has told me today that that parking lot may be available for the train folks. So that's another option, and I know even with the amount of parking spaces at the 80th Street lot, I think it would almost take both lots with the amount of people when they have heavy train rides, and they have probably 125 to 150 cars each, 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and I think they run one more time. So, you might still have cars still in town. So I think they need both options. I think they need both parking lots, and I'm hoping Mr. Hagel is able to make that work for us. And he had said they would probably start their heavy construction part right after the first of the year. So that's a short-term solution if it comes through.
And what the handout I'm just giving you, this is actually City Hall. It's an aerial shot. And this is an idea that I brought up maybe four years ago. I brought it up during my first term and during my second term, in which the response was we don't have a parking problem. But I was on a council, on a committee, and we came up with some solutions for parking. And this actually was one of the spaces identified. The reason being, it's a $1.2 million property. We paid $1.2 million for it. So we should utilize it. And we have a lot of space. If you look around, there is, Rick LaRosa designed a plan over on this side where the drive-through is now located, because that's not really used. And you would take that down to grade level, and you could put 3 to 4 stories with this parking deck. And it's property we own, so we don't have to purchase property. We own it already, and therefore we can put the money into the infrastructure. And it's one block from the train, it's one block from the beginning of the businesses. So you have this parking lot here, and then you would have another space down at the end of the street where municipal parking is now. So it would kind of spread parking out, plus the parking in downtown. My idea did not receive a second to move forward after we had the initial plans, but this is something I would like to bring up again and possibly look at doing, because we own the space, and it would just cost us for the infrastructure. And then we could even have paid parking there and pay for it pretty quickly. So that's a thought. We're passing throwing around ideas. I know there's a gentleman who is looking at putting the parking deck behind the old Rexall over the Chesters, and that's good too. I mean, we just need to explore many ideas. I'm not stuck on any one thing. I don't think Mayor Widener is, nor is the rest of the council, but we need to look at all ideas. And I think this is a viable solution for long-term parking. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of it. I was going to present it tonight again.
The only thing I know is just anyone, I guess we're not having to follow the agenda. Well, you can come back and have a council seat since we're
Hello? Is there anybody in there? Hello?
Stay close.
Well, first, I want to thank everybody who's here. And thank you for answering the call to come in. We really appreciate it. I think it shows what we can do when we have an issue and we really need to get the council's attention. Unfortunately, the people who I really address this to aren't here.
I'm sure they're watching.
Okay, good. But I did prepare some things to say. And I'll start with the three-hour parking. Was basically the first reading, and for some of you who don't know the process, there's a first reading and then there's a second reading. The first reading was done at a special call meeting where there's probably no more than 3 people in the audience, I would imagine. And we're only a second special call meeting away from having it put in place. Once it's voted on, they can be implemented at any time. It's like having a loaded gun to your head at all the time. So it's really something that we need to make sure doesn't come to a second vote. It just needs to be indefinitely tabled until this town has the time to put together a strategic and comprehensive plan for parking. Until that happens, this should just go away altogether. The other thing I would like to say to the members who are out here is they gave their word to the train that they'd give them this time to do it. So either they lied to the train or their word has no value. I don't think that's here either. 3-hour parking does not create more parking spaces. The only thing it does is piss our tourists off. That's it. They'll choose to go someplace else. And if they only have 3 hours to be in town, whose store or restaurant aren't they going to visit? Because they have to leave. This is not good for you, and it's not good for me. Do I have a motion?
We don't have. I
Blue Ridge deserves better than this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You have to think about, have they even talked to Johnny Searcy about how much it would cost to enforce such a thing as a 3-hour parking? How many people are going to have to hire to do it? What's the effect going to be to the city's budget on that? That hasn't even been discussed. No one knows, no one seems to care about that. Again, it's something where they haven't even thought that part through. Blue Ridge deserves better than that. There's other easily found parking solutions in this town. Rhonda talked about one. There was a master plan that was done a couple of years back. Jack, I know you worked on that too, and there were hundreds of parking spaces that were identified that just required restriping of the streets. I mean, there's a lot of very cost-effective things that we could be doing right now to help alleviate some of the parking situation in this town, and it's not even being looked at. Instead, we're looking at a piece of property that has some, in my opinion, very big ethical issues when you have 3 city councilmen who have interests right around that property. 2 city council people have property that border that property, and 1 is a family member. I'm telling you, that is a conflict of interest, and if they can't see that, they shouldn't be sitting in those chairs. Is better than that. Much of the angst that's gone on around this process has been because there's a rule change that happened a couple of years ago that says there's no public comment before they vote. That, in my opinion, that's just un-American. I mean, this is a democracy, and Blue Ridge deserves better. The last thing I'll say is, the one thing I'm happy about is that we have an election coming up in a few months, and I'm happy about that because Blue Ridge deserves better.
My name is Morgan Smith, and I have lived in Blue Ridge since 2014. I am a Georgia native, and I came from a town pretty close to the same size as this. So I'd like to offer what I believe are relevant observations, so please have some patience. When I was a teenager, my class and I got caught swimming in the reservoir, and as part of our punishment, we each were required to attend 6 city council meetings. At the end of each meeting, we had to report into the justice of the peace of what did we think about the way they made decisions, and if we didn't like the decisions they made, what would we do different? How that's relevant is what I didn't realize at the time
is I was watching critical decisions being made for my hometown that pretty much put a nail in the coffin for my hometown. The most obvious of those decisions, and I'll use it as an example tonight, was a vote on whether or not to allow a major interstate to come within 20 miles of our hometown. The people on the city council could not gain consensus because what the general tone was, we do not want to have outsiders influence our culture. We do not want to have people coming in and corrupting our children. And we do not want to have an uncontrolled element of cars going by. So the highway was put over near LaGrange, Georgia, which has, I think I heard something grown to get back to 25% since the time that that's happened. And in the meantime, my hometown, like many other small towns, the factories moved out, the schools have gone downhill, they're under constant threat of being consolidated. And so I have become kind of a student of small town, how do you remain vibrant and stay close to your roots and be a part of something. And when I moved to Blue Ridge, part of why I moved here was because I thought maybe this is a chance for a do-over. Maybe I can be part of something that is a town that is going to be vibrant and stay close to its historic roots, which I believe that the train is a fundamental historic route. And if you go online and do a little research, you'll find that there's an agency called the Federal Bureau of Sustainable Communities, which they offer both advice and loans for cities such as Blue Ridge in city planning. And whether you like it or not, and you may view me as an outsider, and certainly I am to Blue Ridge, but I am a Georgian, Blue Ridge is at the point where we need professional help for city planning. And I want to say thank you for your service and your willingness to serve, but I also want to ask the question, when Jared and Davis you guys paid them to look up our own nostrils here and understand what are the things that are going on, they made some pretty emphatic, use the word emphatic, recommendations. One of those recommendations was that all the members of the city council go and get help for conflict resolution and working together as a group. Has that happened?
I've actually done a conflict resolution.
Did you guys do it together?
No, I had taken conflict resolution several months ago, but I don't know that anybody did any of the classes.
Kelsey, I guess you remember the response I got when I tried to set that up. You remember?
Well, here's
You
the thing.
remember.
And they always offer classes,
that way I'm
always
not.
available.
Yeah.
I think that what I'm trying to say is, in addition to the people who aren't here, as far as I'm concerned, it's utterly appalling. Would ever vote to re-elect the people who didn't come because this is your town. You're a representative. And so the second part is, they also recommended that the bylaws be reviewed and be rewritten for Blue Ridge for how you conduct business and how you do meetings and to hire a city manager. Are you guys recruiting for a city manager?
Well, our form of government doesn't allow for a city manager.
Okay.
But we have, some supervisors and things like that, but we would love to see a city manager form of government. I've been asking that ever since I came into office.
Well, it seems to me, it's very concerning to know that 2 or 3 different people are speaking to the railroad, 2 or 3 different people are making deals on the side. I mean, we're losing leverage every time an additional person calls. I mean, any kind of contract negotiation 101 says we are losing leverage because they sniff weakness. And so I'm just highly recommending that you try to put your differences aside and those who hopefully are watching and listening, because you're not doing us any favors and you're not doing yourselves any favors. And the one final thing I want to wrap up with is this. So I'll go back to my hometown. Very similar government, same number of council people, they call them commissioners, and then there's a head commissioner who could vote when other people were absent. All of those people were the power brokers, and probably when I was growing up, owned more than 50% of the property and ran more than 50% of the businesses downtown. They have continued in that culture, and now those people are aging out. They're retiring, their kids don't want to stay, and I'm a great example. I wasn't from a Power Broker family, but I'm just saying I'm an example of that's a miscalculation. If you think people are going to stay when you make it inhospitable for them, is those people now have passed on their inheritance, their financial security, and the town is like a ghost town. It's all boarded up. There's like no life there. And it's a delicate balance. We're all moving here because we want a vibrant town, but if you do not work together to foster cohesive collaboration with each other, everyone's responsible. You guys too, one side or the other. I'm not on a side. I don't know any of you yet. But all I'm saying is if we don't do that, that can happen to our town. It's just possible. So thank you for your time.
He's not here.
And Bill Ryan, is Mr. Ryan here? Okay, does anyone else want to speak? I know.
Turn the mic on.
Wanted to give you an update on the Rich Business Association and some of the things that we're doing this weekend. This weekend is the second Saturday, and this is a program that the Business Association sponsors every month on the second Saturday to bring more eat, recreate, have fun. And this Saturday is the next second Saturday. And our stores are going to be open late until 8 or 9. Till 9 on Saturday, and so we want to encourage everyone to come out and be downtown on Saturday evening. We have been producing some events going on during the second Saturday with local musicians to help create a nice kind of musical ambiance going on downtown. So it's nice for people to kind of stroll and walk along the streets. This weekend, we're going to be doing a flash mob. We've been working with the Sunday Theater and the Community Theater to get some of the kids and high schoolers to come out and perform. So at 6:05 and at 7:05 p.m. on Saturday, we're going to have a flash mob in the area right in front of kind of the boardwalk area. And so it's meant more for the people that not necessarily, the visitors and so forth that are coming that aren't going to know that this is happening. But we wanted to get our local citizens down there to kind of support the kids that are coming out to do this to support the businesses. So just wanted to let you know about that and to invite everybody to come out on Saturday and support the downtown businesses and also our kids for their holidays.
I'll speak loud enough. I have one question. This first reading came at an emergency meeting. What's to prevent the council members that are not here calling another emergency meeting when none of us can be here and have the reading?
Oh, they will.
But what's us?
Nothing.
Nothing. We can do nothing to prevent
I
it.
think you can probably report it to the Secretary of State.
Well, we all will be able to help vote them out if they do this.
Certainly, yes. Yeah, really, you're supposed to call emergency meetings if there is an emergency, you're supposed to call. You're not supposed to do it because it shows a lack of transparency, and you want to make sure that people are aware when you're having meetings. And a lot of times, some council try to pass things through with special call meetings. Not that they're doing that, but just saying that's the issue with special call meetings.
Then we need that email address of that Secretary of State so that we can all send that message. That would be very helpful.
Jane?
I'd just like to say that there is an election coming up in November. All of us are going to have to get out, go door to door. Once the candidates have announced in a couple of weeks, choose one, choose two. call them. I want to volunteer. I want to walk the streets for you. Give me some of your postcards. I want to do anything for you. Call them. They're going to be busy. And let's change this council.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just have a couple of comments. First, I agree with everything this gentleman said concerning the parking issue. But something I've observed in my short time in this area is that, and what you've done on Main Street, the improvements, I like it. It looks nice. The town can be proud of it. However, there's one problem with it. A lot of these street improvement issues that I've seen over the last 3 or 4 years, each one has eliminated a few parking places. The biggest, or the best example that I can think of very quickly is right across the street from Coldwell Banker. Right across the street from Coldwell Banker, there's this big expanse of concrete. Now, I can understand eliminating the corner parking place as a safety issue. You don't want the cars too close to the corner because it blocks the view. But all those other spaces, and I'm just guessing maybe 6 of them in that one place have been eliminated. Now, the street looks great, the sidewalk looks great, but why eliminate parking, a little bit at a time like has been done? And I think that's one of the problems. There's many different things that need to be addressed to solve this, but I think when you do a street improvement project, maybe you better look at what are you eliminating that doesn't need to be eliminated.
It's a little easier for everybody to hear. And you can just pass the microphone around and split us on.
My name's Scott Sullivan. I lived at 241 8th Street. And what I want to address is the flooding issues on 8th Street. It's gotten where it's ridiculous. My yard's been completely flooded. Underneath my house is damaged. My neighbor's house, they have, we need to address. Of course, our council isn't here because they don't want to face us. So my thing is, if you're not willing to face the people of Blue Ridge, then it's time for you to go.
I actually want to address that just a little bit, Mr. Sullivan. I'm familiar with your house. I was down there when we had flooding, and I think some of our really good police officers were down there too. They've seen how bad the water level is there. We did actually, probably 2 or 3 meetings ago, actually approve to hire engineers to take a look at both sides of the track for flooding. And there are some really small pipes, there's some large pipes. In case you didn't watch that meeting, there's 2 really large 3-foot pipes that are feeding into an 18-inch culvert. So you do have some really serious issues, and I hope that you're going to keep bringing that back to the forefront because we need to do something in that area also. So I do want you to know, I've been down there personally and looked at it. I don't know if you need that or not. Anyone else?
I think you can hear me from here. I just have a question or two. I don't mean to diminish the gentleman's problem with the flooding, but I want to come back to this issue regarding the train. Could somebody tell me, because I'm sort of on the outline, I own property here as a commercial businessman, but I'm outside the city, so I can't vote. But I'm very much concerned about this and have been for many years. My concern is, at this point, can somebody tell me about how many people does the train bring to this town per year?
80,000.
That's what I've heard, from 60 to 80,000.
And
That's a
Rachel?
lot. Ma'am?
80,000 people.
80,000 people.
And Mr. Fenton, the CEO of Patriot Rail, told me today they already have tickets sold into the fall. So, it's really going to be difficult for them to make a change in where they're, loading or unloading and doing those things. So we really need to be able to work through this season with Patriot Rail.
Well, I think that's just common sense, which seems to be lacking in some of the folks that should be here, it seems to me. But the point is, 80,000 people coming to this town, of which many of us either own and or work for the businesses in this city. That's a lot of people. That's our livelihood. And if these folks who are supposed to be elected officials making decisions about a strategy for parking, now how big a deal is that? I mean, what does it take to figure out a strategy for parking? If you have to have outside advisors or consultants, so be it. But get the job done. As simple as that.
I have something else to say. Not only are there 80,000 people that are riding the train, a big part of those people are returning customers or referrals from those customers. I've heard from different customers say, you know, I only found out about Blue Ridge because I came to ride the train, fell in love with your town, I bought a cabin here. I come back once a month, I come back every 3 months, or I come back monthly, weekly. So the train is very important. And you know how many years you've been in existence?
Since 1998, and just in the month of July, for 31 days from 2016 to 2017, it may not sound like a lot, but you had 732 more passengers in 2017 in 31 days.
They cater to our tourists and they really make our town look good. That train is a big icon in this town.
And not only that, Mr. Fitness letter states that they employ over 70 full and part-time workers. And since the time they found it, they have personally invested over $600,000 in capital improvements that include track maintenance, locomotive, passenger rail car repairs, and upgrades to the gift shop, entryway, and passenger deck interiors. So, yes. And not only that, they say they are also diligent in utilizing local contractors for repairs, fuel, IT, and other daily operating necessities. And that's big. You start looking at acts that, different manufacturing managers. We've got all IT people. Repairs, etc.
About the election. Mayor Fleitner gave all of us, or a lot of us, this statistic. In Fannin County, we have 9,000 jobs. 4,500 of them are in Blue Ridge, is that right?
4,500 of those jobs, exist in the
in Blue Ridge. So Blue Ridge is the driver for the county. So when you start asking people to help come out and help people to get elected, I don't live in the city. That doesn't matter. You have a job in this county, and if Blue Ridge City goes to nothing, so goes the county.
You might should have brought my re-election. I told you that, but I'm always giving you that information that nobody wants to know, but those are just really good facts. 9,000 jobs in our county and 4,500 of them are here.
My name is Suzanne Ponton. I bought a second home here in 2006. I've been here permanently for 4 years. We came over a New Year's vacation, and we love this town. We fell in love with this town, and I object to the fact that some people say that if you don't live in the city, if you don't have a vote, that it doesn't matter, that it doesn't matter to you. It matters to me in every way. When the city had a water issue, that affected me. I'm on city water. I care about the schools here. I care about the businesses here. We love this town. We are all citizens. Don't let people tell you that if you don't live in the city and aren't able to vote, that it's not important. Get out there and encourage people to make the decisions, to put the people that we need on city council to make this city great, to continue with the growth, the tourism, our livelihood. This town is everything.
Anyone else? I have a question. I'm Nicole Potsop. I'm from the Blue Ridge Mountain Arts Association, and I know I can't keep quiet, and I've been here quite a few times for certain issues, especially pertaining to our community. I've been here since 2006, and my daughter goes to school in Fannin County, and I consider myself a native now that I've had a child here, so sorry. With that being said, as you know, we oversee arts and parking. Part of our permit is that we have to find parking for our vendors and accommodate for our vendors and have a plan for them. Why am I being held to those strict codes, rules, and policies when I apply for a permit yet the city council themselves cannot find some way of finding a cohesive plan for our city as far as parking. And truth be told, just our festivals that apparently certain council members find not as important and not a driver for tourism. Just last year, our economic impact just for Arts in the Park alone was $652,000. So I guess since they're not here, I'll speak it to the general audience. I asked that question. Why am I often held, in the last 5 years that I've held my position, I've been able to do my due diligence, my paperwork, and submit every plan for the betterment of our community, and they can't do the same.
Anyone else?
I was just wondering why we have this at Blue Ridge City Council meeting.
Because you got a lot of go.
Practicing for the TSA jobs.
I'm actually because y'all needs to shoot me. Can y'all take this down first? Since the question came up, what are our plans? How are we gonna monitor parking? Are we gonna chop tires? Are we gonna have meter mains? Are we gonna have, what do you call meter mains?
Clueless.
Lovely Rita.
But I mean, do you have a solution as to how we'll do it?
I've been looking into some things, yeah.
Share them with us.
No, I'd rather not.
I'm just asking to talk to tires because I actually
That's the
had,
only form of it.
yeah, well, I actually had someone say to me that this is someone who's very involved in arts and she's been involved in parking and parking solutions and things like that, and she's very knowledgeable. She's not favoring any of the things we're doing at this point, the 2 hour, 3 hour, whatever, she says parking plan and we move forward. But when people go out for lunch and they happen to go back and move to a new parking place or back to that same parking place, a lot of times, you might end up with a chalk tire and right back, and it's the same people traveling in and out. So I wasn't sure if there's another way other than chalking tires that I don't know about. I've never done that job.
Yeah, I just got back from Houston, and they've got devices now in the equipment that really, some of the cities that have, parking issues, where you pay or whatever, they have, it's like they have some equipment that you can actually, it goes down through and it actually calculates, you go through and shoot like a radar gun type deal, and it's a type deal that it checks it and logs it, and you just continue to control the area. I think, I'm not really positive on the price, but I think it was somewhere around $600-700 or something like that.
I didn't know. I But we don't have one at this point. So I can't need to go because I don't know the answer to
We can't hear you. I'm Melissa Cersei from the Broken Bowl at Sycamore Crossing. I'm from LJ. I've only been here about 16-17 months with our business. But we had our community skip the train. Our city did not support the train at the time, even though the merchants wanted it. And we have a 2-hour parking limit. I just want to say, it is so heartbreaking when you have to close your business because people get mad because they get their tires strapped. It happens, and if you don't think that, if you think they have a problem now finding parking, go to LJ, ask any of the business people what the biggest problem is the 2-hour parking limit.
Cool, thank you. LJ or East, that's just an LJ down in the city, LJ.
East LJ has
I'm standing here listening to some of y'all's comments, and I want to offer a little bit of word of caution to us all. I moved here some time ago with my children, my lovely wife's over there. We have several businesses in Blue Ridge, one of them downtown. We're in Copper Hill, and I'm also on the outskirts of by Tractor Supply. We live in the age of instant communication. We're going to be on Fetcher News, I believe, with this meeting. We have to be very cautionary on how we treat our revenue-based customers. We all have on our businesses reviews. Sometimes we get good reviews, sometimes we get bad reviews, and we try to fix those bad reviews and match those comments from our customers so we keep people coming back. I think we can all remember back to Copper Hill and scenarios with the 20 miles per hour speed limit, right? Okay, who remembers that one? Okay, how adversarial was that? I just asked the question. It was pretty adversarial, right? And there was some police were accused of being there waiting out on the dock, and as soon as you went half a mile over the speed limit, you got it, they all fined. And it got a lot of bad play in the press. So what we have to caution ourselves on here is that if we over-police a parking scenario, now we've become combative to the public. The public turns and says, heck, I'm not going to go right there. And now we turn in our best customers actually against ourselves. I run a small business at Morgan Point. I do kayak rentals out there, and we're very limited on parking. The parking issue and the $5 for parking there becomes very combative to a lot of visitors. And then we end up with people parking up beside the roads, and Mike Tipton, the law enforcement agency with the Forestry Service, has to deal with that, especially on 4th of July. You know how all that goes out, right? Okay? And it becomes a real nightmare. Look at the boat ramps. Okay? Look at Lakewood. Dry ramps, which really doesn't get too much business. A lot of stuff that goes on the peripheral side that we don't pay attention to because it's not reflected within the city. But if we learn the lessons from what's outside of the city that could happen within the city, it could really, really hurt us. So I've heard complaints about the city council. I've never come to a meeting yet, shame on me, in the years that we've had the business here, I've never said my opinion. My opinion is to all of us. If you think just coming to this one meeting right now, right here, is going to do any good, no, it's not. People won't smoke up a chimney, guys. We're not going to do anything right now whatsoever. We're just venting. And I get it. So the choice is up to y'all right now. When you leave tonight, what are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do tonight? Are you going to email people? Are you going to write a letter of complaint? Are you going to come in here tomorrow morning? Or are you going to stand on the front door? And are you going to voice your opinion? Are you going to find these council members that you're not happy with and present them with a letter of complaint? Are you going to create a what's the word where you sign everybody? Petition. Thank you so much. A little nervous up there. Are you going to form a petition? And are you going to make your complaints known and actually do something about it rather than talk about it? Because if you don't do these things right now, this very minute, tomorrow, nothing will happen. You will all complain. So my suggestion is, form the petition, make your complaints known, keep this group going, work with those who want to work with you, and go out on Facebook. Again, make it happen, because if you don't,
An issue that came up earlier about infrastructure. It's not just Blue Street that has problems with infrastructure and building roads and so forth. I own the Blue Ridge Inn Bed and Breakfast, and we have a very large sinkhole on the side of our property that's a result of aging sewer lines, storm drain lines that are going underneath the property. And it's the same storm drains that caused the pavement of the parking lot next door to us. And these lines run from somewhere here on West First Street down to the train depot. And when they came out to take a look, they, uncovered the fact that it's crumbling and caving in, and potentially can take out everything between this parking lot and Depot Street. And so it's happening in multiple places. It's not just all over. And I'm sure if you go and look at other places around town, there are similar issues that's happening. Infrastructure needs to be addressed. All of these things need to be looked into and planned together as well as happen before, large parts of downtown are taken in. And with a lot of the construction going on, I'm sure that's going to uncover a lot of things that, aren't visible today. As soon as they start down on the Temple property, and start digging, large beams into the ground to support the structure they're going to put up there, they're bound to get some of those old lines. So I think it's something that needs to be looked at immediately, and in fact, our property needs some action before the side of the building.
True, and I made the motion maybe a month and a half ago. They are moving forward, the council agreed to move forward with getting that plan revised, and it was gonna cost around $800,000, at the time $700,000. So we're taking out what they've done on East Main and a comprehensive plan from this side of town all the way down to 8th Street. That's my goal. So,
Well, I'm actually talking about a different issue, it's a sewer line that's caving in.
All of that, but
Well, when I talked to him the other day, I went over there and looked at it, he seemed to think it may be caused from all the water, the drain, the storm drains. What about the and it just happens to be right there where all that is as well. So I think it all relates, together. Thank you.
If that's not addressed, the next issue will be underground parking, if we don't fix it. Then we'll all be here about underground parking.
We've been here, had this for 17 years, and from the beginning, our customers said you need to improve the streets, you need to improve the parking, you need to improve the bathrooms. The streets are better. The bathrooms aren't better, and the parking is worse. And they are actually saying to me, if we can't find a place to park, we will not come back. So we need to come with a plan, but all of us who have business need to tell our customers that we're doing something about it. Don't give up on us.
We sign petitions, we rant, we rage, we write, and the city council does whatever it wants to do.
My question, Madam Mayor, is, after all this has been said tonight, and you've kind of taken it in, what are you able to do? What is your plan of action, knowing full well you've got 4 people who could care less, apparently, about the city of Blue Ridge and its problems, whether it's because of personal interest, I don't know, whatever. But what is important, I think you've got a lot of people, me included, and I'm not living in the city, but I definitely would be out there knocking on doors come November, trying to get good, sensible people elected to city council. But I need to know how you two guys, and I'm not going to put you on the spot, but where do we go from here? To keep people involved, to keep this thing going, from the business association as well, an aggressive action, because this is important to so many of us, our livelihoods.
So Nathan, Vince, would you like to address that?
I mean,
You're wanting to also.
He's dying to, but I want to mention, as far as parking, in the term that I have been here, we have discussed parking. That has been our #1 problem. Yes, we have street issues, and we have other things, sewer lines, storm drains. We have come to the table several times with different grants and things like that that are available for storm water or bathrooms that someone, the gentleman mentioned a minute ago. Sometimes those fall on deaf ears. I do not have a vote. I'm not allowed to vote, but I do have a council that can vote, so you need to be calling those folks and asking them to vote those things in. The other thing that happens is we have a very limited budget. And our budget is approved every year, and there's really not any fluff in our budget to be able to do some of those projects. And the council, we submit the budget, the finance director and myself to talk about it, and then it's submitted to the council. But there's never anything put in for extra. You know, the money comes for storm drains, sewer lines, things like that as they break. There's no master plan out there that we're gonna fix $200,000 worth of storm drains this year, or $100,000 worth of sewer lines this year. And those things need to be put in place. We've tried that in the past. My first couple of years, we would put in $50,000 for concrete work for sidewalks, $200,000 would go towards streets, whatever, but now there's just never anything that is preset, and that's what needs to happen. There needs to be planning. There is a road list that has been out there probably 7 of the years. The first 6 months I was in office, we were asked to rate all of our roads. That list, part of those got done in our first term, the second term, those have not been looked at. So we just voted some roads to be repaved or paved, some potholes fixed and things like that. But those were not from a previous list, those were just determined by council. So it wasn't pre-planned. So I think planning is the key. I want a council that can plan our future.
But also, we reallocate some funds and don't spend money in that, such as legal fees and things like that. We'll have money that we can reallocate for infrastructure, storm drains, all that.
You have to get some expenses under control. That's the thing. And just not
$1,000 lawyer fees go a long way to fixing.
a lot of sewer lines, yes. Well, and just like this last weekend. This last weekend was an unplanned expense. We do not know what is wrong with our plant. We don't know exactly how much money we're going to have to spend, or if it's going to be under warranty or those type things, because it's not been diagnosed yet. The thing is that we could have some unforeseen expenses, but we had to keep safe drinking water in the city of Blue Ridge, and we had to be able to fill our tanks, or otherwise you guys were going to be running to LJ and Blairsville and you know, probably keeping those hotels closed. Nathan was going to lose his revenue, and you were going to lose your revenue, which is tax dollars that actually come into the city. So we don't need to spend everything we've got. We need to have some reserves.
And on that topic too, I think what you're gonna have to do, you're asking what can you do, as a council, you've got to look at the people who are running. I know there are 3 of them back there right now, in the back. I'm up here, I'm running again, and so this will be my first chance. Are you implementing a 2-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 20-year plan? I've tried to do that, this is my second term, and I've still not been able to work with the council that will work with me on that. So you've got to get a council in here who understands planning, and if we would have started, when I came on my first term 8 years ago, I mentioned parking. I've been talking about parking for 8 years, but nothing has been done because I'm one person. I can't do it. I can't do anything unless we have 3 votes. So you've got to get a council in here who understands infrastructure. They've got to understand how everything relates to something else within the city. It all works together. And until we can get that, that's where you, people who vote, if you live in the city, ask your candidates that. We're going to have forums and get people in here who want to make change. We want to keep this town the way it is, but we want it to grow with a controlled growth, with infrastructure in place, and knowing that we are growing, especially in the downtown business district. So you've got to implement all these things and have a plan in place. You can't pretend it doesn't exist. And we've got to get a city manager form of government, because we are to the point with our growth, we need that. Bill Sowers had been with the City of Blue Ridge for 20-something years. He retired. We called him our city administrator. When he left, the rest of the council refused to hire someone in his place. And I said, why are we not hiring someone to replace him? Roy was here working with ordinances, and that's what Roy still does. He's a part-time worker. They told me we can't afford to replace him. This is the same year we spent $40,000 on an investigation with Gerard and Davis that was totally unnecessary. And that money that we could have paid a city administrator or a city manager went to.
Okay, I have done this.
With extreme opposition.
Okay, let me tell you something. I remember putting a group of people together and bringing them to the council members to try and help them when they asked me to help. They got all the information. They all of a sudden kicked everybody under the bus, and they know everything. And now, all of the time that has been spent on getting grant money to try to get a development authority, it was shut down. There's money available, okay? It disheartens me to read the things that they have done to make Main Street and everything else the way that it is, and try and take all the credit. And the credit is not deserved. I remember where the grants came from, who worked on the grants. I appreciate the time and effort that you all have put in to fighting, trying to get someone to work with you. But you can't. It is not working, and that's obvious because they're not here. We're all here as business owners. We're here because we care about the town. We care about the growth, not just inside the city limits, but outside too. It is all the way around. We can keep beating it to death, but it's the law. 1, 2, 3, bam, done. You want to pass the second reading? 1, 2, 3, bam, done. It will be done. But then you, those that can legally, and unless we go to the state of Georgia and change the law where if you own a building or a business in the city limits, you have to vote. We don't have anything except to try and go out and encourage other people that are in the city. Do you realize what's happening to your town? Do you realize what is going to happen to your town if you don't take heed now? Those short-term solutions are still solutions, even in short term, because that can lead to other things, so that the problem can be solved. But I have beat this horse to death, and I haven't been here in 9 months probably, and I wanted to come to support the businesses and all of the people in the community, because I have a business here too, and it means a lot to me. But you know, the election's important, so if you've never gotten out and helped to get the candidates in those seats that are willing to work and not just do what they want as a majority, leaving others as a minority and trying to make them look like they don't do anything, then you have failed as a citizen of this community for not going out and trying to do something to make a change.
Do other Georgia cities allow business owners that do not live in the city to vote? Is that an ordinance or something that no Georgia cities?
It's your domicile, but you wouldn't have to change your domicile if you're primary residence.
There's 1,400 people in the city of Georgia. There's at least 100 people in there that are alive. That means you have to influence 14 people. I mean, it's not even about voting. Like, there's not that many people in the city of Blue Ridge. There's plenty of us here. Like, if you can convince 10 people, well, it doesn't matter. You don't have to vote.
Well, and I do think that a lot of people pay attention to what happens. I know that I hear all the time, you know, they read the newspaper, that they can decipher what's correct and what's not. But they also watch Metro News, and it's live every meeting. And so, you know, I've actually witnessed a meeting or an argument between two people where someone tried to tell someone what happened, and he said, no, I watched it live. I saw it on Metro News, so I know exactly what happened, and I'm standing with that. So thank goodness there's that type of media out there too. And then, of course, Facebook, you post YouTube videos, you do those don't you learn. So, you know, they don't have to rely on rumors or things like that. Because I hear from a lot of the residents in town, every time we have a meeting, I get phone calls from some of the folks that don't show up, that are city voters. I probably heard from 40 plus city voters over the weekend during this crisis. Anybody else?
Yeah, comment. It seems to me that it's very clear what has to be done. How many people are in the city of Blue Ridge that can vote? What is it, 1,800?
There are 900, there was about 900 voters on the voters list. 100 of those have probably been removed at this point, whether they're deceased or they've moved out of the home that they're in. So I think the list is down to around 800. There are about 400 people that have been flagged to come off the voters list.
By whom?
Okay, well, you start with the number of voters. And my understanding is that registration expires on October 10th. Is that correct? So one thing we all need to do is get as many city voters to register to vote. That's number one. And then number two is to influence those people to vote and to vote in favor of the new candidacy, progress and prosperity. So that's what we need to do. We need to go out there and register everybody who's a potential voter and persuade them to adopt a new city council.
Well, and I don't think you have to actually persuade them. I think you can have them do their homework themselves. Most everybody has internet. If they don't, they can go to the library or different things like that. Fetcher News keeps a library of all of our videos, all of our council meetings, correct, on your site.
YouTube, FYN, our channel is FYN TV.
You have our
Fetch Your News.
You keep
That's our YouTube channel, and you just type in Blue Ridge in the search, and they all come up.
Okay, the same thing with Elaine Element and Sentinel. They have reporters. She keeps all of those documents. And I'm sure she can pull any meeting if you want to hear it verbatim. I think the News Observer left, and I'm not sure what they do, but I'm sure they have some kind of documentation also. So, ask your news sources to, if you're a city voter and you need to make up your mind, come listen to a council meeting. That way it's not secondhand information.
Got it. My name's Ellie Wilborn. I own a couple of businesses here in town. First off, how many people signed the petition?
Actually, it was 1,008.
All right. I counted when I got here 126 people.
I counted 142, but some left before you got in here.
Okay. There's a problem with that. They left. If they cared, why they leave? Did they sign it? Did they? I didn't sign one. I'd never seen it. Of course, I would go back and forth from Florida a lot, so I apologize. I'm also not here at every single city council meeting. When's the last time, Mayor, did you see this many people in one of the city council
It's
meetings?
been a while.
Why is that?
We didn't have any hot topics.
And actually, that question wasn't for you, it's for all of you. If you guys care about this city so much the way you do, then you should be here every council meeting. Doesn't matter if it's about, thank you, you're good, you got one. We got one.
Several.
I just hit my 4-year mark, August 4th here. And since then, it's been nothing about parking. That's only been the big criteria. Yeah, there's other things that people talk about. But I barely see anybody in here. I've ever seen one in town, much less in this city hall.
Yeah, I do think a lot of people rely on the social media out there, being able to pull it up through that or through the Facebook news or that kind of thing.
Right, but I've also had customers call me in my business and say, hey, can you leave a voicemail on my answer machine because I don't feel like coming off the mountaintop today.
The other thing is there's no public comment available during the meeting, so.
Exactly.
You can't say a damn thing.
This is apparently the only time we can talk, but everybody leaves.
It coincided with the county meeting, so as a county employee who had to represent, I wasn't able to have a voice heard within the city as well. So that's a lot of the reasons, but I do make an effort to show up when it comes.
Good, and that's good.
When we changed our policies, with the meeting procedures, my first term, we followed basically Robert's Rules of Order. Second term, we started doing that, and then Ms. Art decided she was going to write her own because she didn't really want to hear from you people, in my opinion, only. But your voice was taken away, and that's when people quit coming. When you can't even, like, for instance, I will give you an example. When they voted on 3-hour parking, it was placed on the agenda the last minute because with her rules of procedures, a council person could do that up until 5:30, isn't that correct? Up until she can print them, the day of the meeting. It was added, and I was blindsided by it. And anyway, so I said, I don't feel comfortable voting on this. I think we need to have a town hall meeting and hear from residents. We need to hear from business owners. We need to hear from the owners of the train because that's an integral part of all this. And she would not let, she being Miss Art, she would not allow, she said she would not allow Caesar to speak. He was here representing the business association. And we were down to a few people because people aren't coming. So that's an example. I feel like if we, when new administration starts in January, whoever it is, if I'm on it, that's great. If I'm not, it's okay. But I hope whoever's on it will change that policy so that you guys can have a voice again. Even last week when they had the special call meeting, my voice was taken away. I ran on the platform to be the voice for the people, and Ms. Art made a motion that I not be allowed to speak, which was seconded by Rodney Kendall. Harold Herndon voted no, but I don't think that's legal, which I will be contacting the Secretary of State as well on that. But I don't think you can take a council person's voice away. You guys voted me in to represent you, and my voice was clearly taken away just as yours was. And that's not the only time it's been taken away at a council meeting. So
I can answer your question too about the last time there was this many people here. It's when we had a town hall meeting that I called, that I wanted to moderate, and it was packed. And everyone here, plus more, except for the same council members who didn't show up for that item.
Although Harold did show up for that.
Harold did,
yes.
I think.
Harold showed up for that, so he was here, Mr. Herndon.
So
yeah.
There's nobody to really speak to, you know, I mean, except when this, you know what, I appreciate this open forum.
I'm just curious, how many people are here that can vote?
Me. Okay, and I have something to say.
Yeah.
I do live in downtown Blue Ridge, and I do own 2 businesses and live on the business property. Whoever is running for the next city council, I would like to work with you, and I'm willing to go around to downtown Blue Ridge residents to get them to understand what's going on, if they're not here. I am behind Blue Ridge 100%, and this is ridiculous.
There are quite a few, David. I didn't see all the hands. I got them down very quickly, but there was everybody that is a downtown voter.
Yeah, 12, 13.
And Board of Elections, Ms. Mayor, stated that there was not a deletion yet.
17 people.
18, 19.
18, 19, yeah.
I used to live in the city limits until Angie Art bought my house.
What?
You should have left something. No, I was renting. My landlord.
I'm not saying one thing. So we got a lot of business owners there, which is great. A lot of the editorials I've been reading lately is on disheartening because it seems like they're trying to put a wedge, whoever they may be, between the residents and the business owners. I'm a 5th generation of Blue Ridge. And so luckily I know a lot of the true locals that are voters in the city limits of Blue Ridge. But I think now is a good time for the business owners and the residents to be able to come together, for y'all to be able to get to know them. Y'all are not the bad guys, they're not the bad guys, and that there should be able to be some middle ground, that y'all have a common goal for the future of Blue Ridge. So I think now is a good time for that, because it's almost like it's been residents and businesses, and it's really just uncalled for all the way around. We're all one community.
We are one community.
I think that divide is being devised by other people. It's not, I think if you talk to business owners, they don't have problems with residents. We love the community. We want to do more to help benefit the community, whether it's, charitable things, whether it's events, parks, whatever. We want to do that.
Well, let's face it.
And I think the residents appreciate a lot of the things we do. So whatever, divide is being put out there, I think it's a marketing plan to divide us, not to add something.
Well, each complements the other. I mean, without the businesses and without the tax revenue. Property owners' taxes would be higher to be able to keep up the streets, the infrastructure and all that. So they really complement each other because the residences couldn't afford to do it without the business owners.
Right.
So it was,
Well, they probably can afford to do it, but would they want to have to do it when a lot of the wear and tear on our city is because of businesses? So they appreciate both having an input. The sales tax dollars alone that you generate for the city is what gets our streets paved. These council members did not go out, myself included, and actually run a dump truck or any of those things. Without your tax dollars, nothing can happen in the city. So, you know, when we're patting people on the back, let's pat our business owners on the back, and let's pat our taxpayers on the back. So I think we forget that a lot of times. That money comes in through business owners. So I do think there is a divide, but I am hearing more and more of those residents say, you know, those people are helping us. So,
We've not had a tax increase unless you could be reassessed by the county. Of course, we go in based on the county tax guide. But, yeah, we've not had a tax increase in a long time.
we've had 2 rollbacks on our millage rates, and we've actually had a decrease twice in the 7 years I've been here. The county has reassessed properties, but if no one else would like to speak, anybody else have anything?
I just had one question. So when is the next planned meeting where the other council members will be?
Well, I will tell you when I would like for that to be is at our next scheduled council meeting, which is the 2nd Tuesday of the month. So
2nd Tuesday in September.
So I don't know if they will show then. I don't know if we will have a special call. Hopefully, if it's a special call, we have a true emergency other than just running everybody back and forth. But that should be our next meeting, will be the 2nd Tuesday of September.
Okay, are we on the special call, is that what happened that I attended with about 15 or 20 other people and
Yes,
saw it on
yes.
Tuesday,
And
2
I
o'clock?
have had a request, there are people that say they do not get a notice for a special call. Sometimes I don't even get a notice till it's been called, and then I'm asked if I can come. If I do a special call, I usually ask Kelsey to call all of the council members and see if that date and time is gonna work for them. And, you know, see if we can not get a consensus that everybody's gonna be available at that time. But a lot of times, I know at the same time the media knows there's a special call meeting.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because, again, it's sort of, I guess, an outsider that's been here for a couple of years. It would have been nice to have seen the 2 of you there at that meeting.
Oh, we were called and told that it was happening, but we were never called beforehand to say, hey, do you have a doctor's appointment? Do you have anything going on that day? And
Right.
she had an appointment and I had an appointment, and that's what I told Kelsey. And I said, you know, could we please get them to, the ones who are calling these meetings, confer with us and see if, and let's pick a time that's best for all of us.
Right. And I was happy to attend on behalf of the Business Association Board, but, I mean, for the rest of you that were not there, and I'm not sure how many of you were there.
They probably didn't know.
But there were about 15 people, and that may have been, of course, I guess you can go back to Brian's video on that. About 15 people in a small room over there in the corner. And that's all that was in there discussing business. Of course, those
inmates are running the.
So that's why I'm bringing it up, because it's unnerving. It should be unnerving to everybody.
Kelsey
That's
has
what
something
everybody
to
is.
say about that too.
Okay, that'd be great.
If anybody wants to receive a notice for any meeting that the city council calls or schedules, get with me after the meeting and I'll take your email address and I'll add you to my mailing list.
Everybody needs to know.
I just was curious when the next special meeting that I would have a chance to attend would be, so.
Is that legal? Like, can they just do an impromptu meeting? No, it's not legal.
There are a couple things that are very important on the agenda.
Oh, that's not, it's not legal.
They need to get passed tonight, so I think Mr. Helton is going to be very upset with us because he was actually thinking, he was one of those people I should have thanked too, for showing up at our water treatment this weekend to offer any help that he could need, or the county. He had made sure that I knew that it was very important that we pass that tonight, so.
Everybody knows.
Well, that would be an emergency. If there is a true emergency that comes out of that, as far as pumps or something.
Define true emergency.
To the city, then I would have a special call meeting for that.
Guys, it's getting late. I know some of you are
I think Rick Cooper wanted to speak.
Okay.
Yeah, can I ask a question, please? Is there specific criteria established by some government body that determines when a special call meeting is allowed or necessary?
Kelsey, do you know the answer to that? Is there a government agency, Secretary of State, anybody that has?
Is there criteria for a special call meeting?
They're supposed to be called, if they're urgent or
They're urgent.
So 2 hour, 3 hour parking is not an emergency meeting, correct?
No, that was an ordinance.
This is somewhat of a rhetorical question, okay?
You don't ask a question unless you know the answer. Speak up.
A special call meeting is required to be called within 24 hours by state law. If it's less than 24 hours, special requirements have to be made. To my knowledge, since I've been in city clerk, we haven't had one that's been called less than 24 hours in advance. But according to our city charter, the minimum time frame to call a meeting is to the public is 24 hours.
I think the question was, is there criteria?
I said, what is the criteria for calling one?
What constitutes, what can allow us to have a special call meeting? Does it have to be an emergency? I mean, and we know there are guidelines such as, you know, for transparency, you have to make sure that.
If it's called ahead of 24 hours, it can be whatever they want to put on the agenda. If it's less than 24 hours, there is more specific specifications, but I don't know them off the top of my head.
And it requires how many people to make that decision?
2 council members or the mayor.
How's your day?
But the precedent for this issue, for the parking issue, was already set by that meeting a few weeks ago or a month ago, whenever it was. So whether there's criteria or not, the precedent was set for the parking issue by that meeting a few weeks ago.
Well, we had a meeting last week also that was the first reading of the parking ordinance.
I understand that.
So, were you at that meeting also?
I was not.
Which was really, there was nothing on there that could not have waited until tonight.
Right, well, I didn't mean to go to that one because you guys were there.
Yeah, we were
But
there.
it was that one
Yeah.
where there was not adequate representation by you all.
And I don't think there was anything urgent on that one either. What I can see from looking at the minutes, I have the minutes right here, I didn't see anything urgent.
It was all about parking and only about parking.
All right, anyone else?
Thank you all for coming. Sorry we could not have the meeting.
Thank you.